If we try to force the intense workouts or the strict diets in this state, it's just going to put us into an even worse situation and everything's going to feel harder. Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast, the podcast where we debunk the eat less, move more, shrink more mentality and focus on what really matters, which includes your relationship with your body, food, self-worth, and the behaviors that align with all of those. I'm your host, Christina Hathaway, licensed therapist with specialized training in food and body obsession, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. At the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast, we believe what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. So let's have a conversation about that. Before we get into today's episode, I want to make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, if you don't want to miss any content that's being dropped, make sure you hit that notification bell as well. I also want to know who are the people you want to hear from on this show and what topics would you like me to continue to cover. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now, let's get into the episode. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mindset Mirror Connection. I am so excited to have you here today. I have my hippie kind of look going on with the shorter hair. Needed to put a little headband in. If you're not watching this on YouTube, got a little off the shoulder with some fun sleeves. We love that for us. Okay. So wanted to give you guys just a life update. If you're new to this podcast, I'd like to talk about my life for the first 5 to 10 minutes just to catch you up on what's going on. And if you are not interested in that, you could check out the show notes below to talk about our topic today, which is how to take care of yourself during difficult seasons of life. So update on my life, right? So my dad is still in the hospital at recording. And as we had found out, his cancer had spread. Unfortunately, like the radiation has been causing some sort of, or showing up, like bringing forth an infection. So the doctors said that the possibility of continuing treatment, specifically chemo outside of this, is probably really low. So, we unfortunately did have to have a conversation about hospice care. But as of this recording, we haven't made a decision yet because we're still waiting. You guys, I got really pissed this weekend at the hospital because we had doctors come in and say to us, like, you keep getting infections. Like, if you start chemo, you're just going to keep coming back to the hospital. And it's going to fry your immune system even more. Like, it's not an option. I mean, and it was very black and white. And then this female oncologist comes in and says, no, you can still do it. You're not all skin and bones like all of my other patients who can't. And we're trying to tell her, like, well, that's not what we're trying to do here. Like, we're not going to get him to the point where he is so frail that his quality of life is shit, And she was talking. I started crying. I said, I'm getting really frustrated because you're all giving us varying information. And my brother literally was crying in my arm. My older brother and sister were all crying together because we have to process that our dad does not have any or other options left. And then this bitch comes in and is like, oh no, look at me. I'm the oncologist. I know all of the answers, but couldn't give us answers. And I just like kind of popped off and finally, she just kept talking. And I said, you know what? You guys can finish this conversation. And I left. She was still in there for 30 more minutes. My mom, my brother, my dad, everyone's like, still not making sense, lady. So luckily, shout out to my girl, Camilla. She said, look, just tell your treatment team you do not want to deal with our oncologist. The other oncologists have been fairly like black and white, if you will. So that was annoying. It really frustrated me. And I'm just like, y'all need to get on the same page. Like, you're messing with people's emotions here. And if you're going to talk about, if one person's going to come in and give really bad news, we need to make sure that that's the news we're going to give. And for the other doctor, I felt like the oncologist was trying to play God, to be honest with you. So that was not fun this weekend. And I've been really stressed. Like, the word isn't stressed out. I'm just kind of fried, and that's why I wanted to talk about today's conversation, because I have so much like going on in my head all at once, and I'm just going to share it. I'm just going to share it with you guys because I had clients this week reach out and talk about the struggles they're going through and, that they're going through really hard emotional struggles. And I have clients who have I have a client that today actually whose husband's going to be getting surgery, like a heart surgery. Like it's very, very intense. And she's got a very little daughter. And she said, my exercise isn't going to be top of mind. And I said, of course not. Of course not. However, there is something that people do when things get hard. And that is if you don't do or set yourself up in the way that I'm going to explain today, you are going to really struggle with taking care of yourself when things get hard. And, you know, my hard versus your hard is going to be different. And we'll talk about that. But a lot of women out there are just trying to hold it together while life is quite honestly just falling apart, And again, you might be navigating grief like me, a divorce, a health diagnosis, caregiver of a parent, right? Because I also have to take care of my mom through this. Burnout is going to happen because you're trying to do it all because we didn't even talk about all the other things you do. And it just slowly, it's like this slow erosion of your identity under the weight of this responsibility. And I feel that, And whatever your version of hard, as I just said, looks like right now, like this is why I want to make this for you because I hope that sharing my story and how I'm doing it for myself can be beneficial to you. I was listening to Journey Church, is the church I listen to. Shout out Journey Church in Florida. You got a girl in Arizona listening to. And they were talking about how this pastor had shared his story with addiction and how him sharing his story inspired someone else with addiction to realize like just because you've been where you've been doesn't mean that you can't be better, right? And just sharing, he was just talking about sharing your truth. And I thought, okay, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about the good and the bad, right? You, I think it's interesting because no one actually teaches us how to take care of ourselves when we're not thriving. I do that with my clients. I give them multiple care plans based on what's going on in their lives, right? And it's really helpful for them. But no one ever talks about this. It's almost as if we actually promote not taking care of ourselves when we're going through hard times more than we do taking care of ourselves. But yet it's exactly what our body needs the most is our care, right? That's what our bodies need. And so let's talk about what I hear with a lot of people, which is this myth that they're going to wait till things calm down. For me in my situation, could this, I mean, the inevitable is going to happen, but does that mean that things will calm down? Probably not for a while, maybe not for a long while, right? But there's this common lie we tell ourselves, women specifically, like, I'll get back to taking care of myself when things calm down, when I have more time, when the time is right. But the problem is like, you have to ask yourself exactly what I just said. What if things don't calm down? What if this is the season, right? What if you're waiting until life gets easier to care for yourself and it's like waiting for perfect weather to start training for a marathon? Like you're gonna have rainy days, you're gonna have windy days, you're gonna have hot days. Like it doesn't come. And in the meantime, your body becomes collateral damage to you not doing that, right? I think the problem though too is that it's hard. And I'm gonna say for me, it's hard. I'm trying to do the same routine that I did. Yes, I did while I'm still in the grief process, but not in this part of the grief process and the anticipatory grief process. And then I feel a lot of guilt because I can't kind of show up in this like heroic way, right? And what I realize is that this requires a lot of like adaptive effort, right? It's that kind of effort that's sustainable within your bandwidth especially when your bandwidth is like razor thin. And I know I talk about this a lot, you guys. I talk about like the percentages and the minimums and the boom box, but I need you to understand that it is okay to take care of yourself in survival mode and that not look like taking care of yourself in thriving mode, right? So if you're in survival mode right now, the question is, how am I going to go back to doing it all? The question isn't, how am I going to get that workout in? The question isn't, you know, what do I need to do to make up for the fact that I couldn't get that workout in? So now what? Now how am I going to like play Tetris with my time, right? The question now is, what does support look like in this version of me? And I'm saying these things, you guys, because I feel them. I did not work out today. I fell asleep crying last night. And I couldn't sleep after, well, I didn't fall asleep. I was crying after I laid my head down. And I I just couldn't sleep. And so Liberty woke me up at 5:30. I usually wake up at 4:30. And I went for a walk with her. And then I came home and did some work and found out some stupid stuff about invoicing and payments and stuff, and that pissed me off. So then I went for another walk. I wanted to get my workout in. And even what I did, like I actually updated my workouts because I knew that the current workout that I was doing was going to be too much stress on my body. So like, but I feel guilty. So like these things that I'm saying are coming from my head. I feel guilty. I've literally tried to Tetris my day today so that I could get that workout in after I do this and before I go to the hospital. But it's like, stop, right? Just stop. So I just wanted to say that. So when I say like the 45, really 60-minute workout that I've been doing is too much stress on our body, we have to think about physiology, right? When your life is falling apart, your body knows it. And God, I'm so emotional. Even if you're still showing up to work, right? You're still getting in your steps, you're smiling through it. Like there's a lot that's just on the outside, babe. Like what's going on under the surface is your cortisol levels are so high. Your stress becomes fragmented because it's so high. Your hunger, I last week, and I feel terrible like because because okay, let me finish my sentence. I ate whatever I wanted to eat. Now, what that means for me is different for other people. There's a sandwich shop by the hospital, and I had just eaten a lot of meals out. And that's fine. I don't prefer it, right? It's not a preference for me. And I started getting down on myself because of it. Then after the doctor situation, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I disconnected and just needed a day to disconnect and went out and ate food that wasn't my normal and just disconnected. So like your hunger and fullness cues are so dysregulated, plus convenience is really important, right? So you're not only are your hunger and fullness cues dysregulated, but like your your digestion will slow down, especially if you are stressed, because why would we digest food in the time we need to like run or fight, right? Because when we're stressed, our brain thinks we need to fight our flight. And also, in my case, I'm eating food that isn't my norm. And through high stress, through a slow digestive tract, our immune system becomes compromised, right? Which is something I don't want because I need to be well enough to get to the hospital. And I don't even want to have any sort of compromise immune system at all because I can't go see my dad, right? And like I said, like I crave sugar and salt and simple carbs. And it's not because I'm someone, I don't struggle with emotional eating, but my body is begging me for a quick energy and for that dopamine hit. And, you know, I've been, my mom has these like dark chocolate pretzels in the room. So I just have like a serving of those. Oh, One of my favorite things I've been doing is they have a frozen yogurt machine at the hospital. So I will get a little frozen yogurt for my midday snack. But it really, the cravings are high. And this isn't because I'm lazy or I'm gluttonous or whatever. It's because this is my body's biological stress response. And no amount of willpower can override it long term. I'm going to tell you that. I have fucking willpower. My brain can go very black and white. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I am a therapist and I've worked in really tough situations, especially when I worked in child crimes. And it can go very black and white. But it's all over, everything's overrated, right? And if we try to force the intense workouts or the strict diets in this state, it's just going to put us into an even worse situation and everything's going to feel harder. And our bodies will fight back because it should fight back because healing your body is not built on punishment and guilt and shame. It's built on having a partnership with your body, especially during this time, because you need to take care of it. You know what drives my clients absolutely crazy is they're eating clean and doing all the workouts, but they don't see the weight budge. Their sleep is all over the place. Their hormones are through the roof and they feel like they're going crazy.
Yeah, it's frustrating because 9 out of 10 times it's something hormone related that no one's looking at. It's perimenopause, menopause. Our biology internally has shifted, but no one's changing the strategy as far as approach.
What if perimenopause support included like therapeutic guidance, nutrition, exercise, and hormonal support all in one place?
Seriously, it would be great if you didn't have to track down like 10 different experts just to feel like yourself again.
That's why I created the Mindset of Menopause and have partnered with Dr. Jordan Trapp to create a comprehensive plan to your hormonal health.
Together, we are making medical insight meet emotional strategy. So your symptoms make sense, your plan actually works, and your power comes back online.
This isn't just support. This is your comeback season.
Click below for more information.
So, how can we redefine self-care in seasons like this? Well, we have to think, how do we care for our body when life is overwhelming, right? We need to, of course, strip it back and focus on what actually matters. We prioritize minimums with meaning, right? So for those who are new, our minimums are the things we know we can do on our worst week. Now, when I say that, I ask the clients, you've got a deadline, your kid is homesick, your partner's out on work, and the dog's throwing up something green. That's your worst week in that context. This, we don't even fathom that will happen. I mean, it will happen, but you know what I mean? This is just, it's its own beast, right? So one of my things that I continue to do is anchor in my gentle structure rather than my rigid structure. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's fucking hard. I'm sleeping a bit longer because I'm tired. I am, getting Liberty's walk in. And like today, I didn't get my workout in. As I'm saying that, I feel the guilt in my body. I just want to be real. I didn't get it in. And I think that guilt is a part of control because so much is out of my control. And if I could just go get a workout in, like that's a sense of control. So I think that's where that comes from. I walk a lot in the hospital, a lot. So like if my dad wants to sleep or they take him on he's getting radiation right now, or he goes to the bathroom, he doesn't like to be in there. Obviously, when he goes to the bathroom, I'll just go walk. But you may not be able to do the thing you always do, like meal prep on Sundays, but you can eat one protein at each meal. So I'll give you an example of how I'm doing that. So in the hospital, the things that I purchase are a salad, the salad bar, and they have hard-boiled eggs and like tuna, like a scoop of tuna. So like I always have that. Or I tried to do like a chicken tender salad. The chicken tenders are kind of gross, but these are things, the common things you're going to have at a hospital. Yesterday, I did have a slice of cheese pizza and it wasn't great. So I regretted it because I wanted it to be delicious. And in this particular hospital, they have some restaurants around there. So like I said, we go to this place called Saks and they have this, it's called the Remington sandwich and it has like grilled chicken, provolone cheese, jalapenos, green chilies, avocado. Like it's so good. And it's a lot of chicken. So like I'll have that. Another thing I did, and I'm gonna you had seen my post on this, is across the street is a Greek restaurant. And the Greek restaurants, and a lot of them are like this, will have a plate option. And let me tell you, my Greek people love you. They put a lot of food on that plate. In this particular restaurant, they have a small plate and a large plate. And you pick a protein, you pick a side, and you pick a sauce. And the sides are just like basmati rice. Protein is grilled chicken. I get a jalapeno hummus. I get one full pita, four wedges. And then I ask for a side of cucumbers. And now that I know how much food a small is, if I get a large, I can then split that into two containers, right? The hospital has microwaves. They have a place for to fill up your water bottle in the cafeteria and they have microwaves and like silverware. So like you can go heat up your food. So that's one of the things I've been doing in regards to like more gentle structure, right? So if you like I said, if you can't get in 10,000 steps, right? But maybe you can step outside and like take a couple deep breaths after calls or after, like I love going outside because the hospital is so cold. I just sit in the sunshine for probably like 5 minutes and I live in Phoenix. It's hot. Figuring out like what can I do? If not this, then this. If not that, then this. Don't just give yourself two options. Give yourself three, four options. But just having that gentle structure instead of those rigid rules. You don't have to be perfect in like stabilizing habits. You just need to be able to, you have to do something, right? You have to do something. And I know that probably sounds like a lot, but it's not. It's not a lot because you will go mad if you don't. And the next thing is like I really want you to switch like from this idea of discipline to like devoted to yourself, right? You're not forcing yourself to do hard things when you're already hurting. It's already hard to do all of the things. I understand. I have the privilege and gratitude to move all of my client calls into one day. I'm able to be there with him and help him get water or put on a book. My dad is blind. And I've said this before, being blind in a hospital is 10,000 times harder. Being blind and sick in a hospital, it's really tough. So, like having us there. I asked him yesterday because I was like, I'm going to go just prepare for the week. And he's like, okay. And I could hear it in his voice. I go, do you not want me to go? He's like, no. So I stayed. He wants us there. But this is not about forcing yourself to do hard things when you're already hurting. It's about asking yourself, like, what, again, would honoring my body look like? I choose movement that is going to restore me, not drain me. That's why I cut down my workouts to about 30 minutes tops. I'm doing two compound movements. So I start with my foam rolling. I go into 4 minutes of just a neural, like a wake up, doing some plyometrics for 4 minutes. I do one warm up set and then four working sets of each of the workouts, and I'm done 3 times a week. Actually, 4 times a week. I made it four when I cut it. And that works for me, right? The other thing that I did is I actually did meal prep. I don't usually meal prep because I usually have the bandwidth to make my meals and like my meals are relatively the same. Like I said, I have the same 3 to 5 breakfasts, 3 to 5 lunches, and 3 to 5 dinners. However, when I don't have a lot of time. So I actually meal prepped yesterday. And I meal prepped foods that were going to fuel me, that were going to help stabilize my blood sugar, that would help with managing my cortisol levels, and had really nothing to do with diet or this or that. I mean, yes, they're all high protein whole foods. So that's how I eat though. And I want to explain how I did it. Like I didn't go out of my way to make these meals. I did two lunches. The first one I had chicken breast that Mark, I always tell you guys, Mark cooks in the Traeger. If you don't have a lot of protein prepped and you have a man who likes to grill in your life, just ask him to grill you some chicken or ground beef. So I did chicken. I had a bell pepper, black beans. Did I put Greek yogurt or did I put cottage cheese in that one? It was one of the two. Greek yogurt, avocado, shredded cheese, and taco sauce, taco seasoning. I think that was it. So I made a big batch of that. And then the next thing I did ground beef, the sheet pan veggies from Costco, and I put that into a container with some of the seeds of change rice. I love seeds of change. It's a microwavable rice. It's very tasty. And then a side of hummus. So I'll just dish that out. Then for breakfast, I just got a cake pan. In a bowl, I put 6 eggs, 2 cups of egg whites, 6 turkey sausage, 50 grams of reduced fat cheddar cheese, and like 2 handfuls of like a spinach kale mix. Mix that all together, put it in a sheet pan, and baked it for 30 minutes. And I just had it. And I just get my Thomas whole wheat English muffin. Love those high fiber, high protein. And I cut a square of it, put it in between, and I had a sandwich, and it was perfect. It was so delicious. Okay. Then also, I created some snacks. I had cottage cheese with this salsa that's made locally, a little bit of taco seasoning, and then some pita chips. So that's done, right? So I I don't usually meal prep because I have the freedom to kind of make my food as I go. But now that my time is restrained, it took me about an hour and a half to do everything, but that was because I was waiting too for the food to be done. So fueling myself and creating and preparing in a way that's going to make sense for me, right? The next thing is sleeping so your brain can process, not just be more productive. Now, like I said, last night I thought I was just going to go to sleep. And I just started crying. It was the first time I allowed myself to think alone in the dark. Mark was already asleep. And I think in order to go to sleep, my body needed to let go of that. But we want to have our sleep routine. We want to protect that at all costs and know that that's our body's way of processing, right? It's our way of, I mean, I have these crazy dreams. It's our way of going through it. And so we need to make sure that no matter what, we are taking care of our sleep. So figuring out what movement looks like, it doesn't need to be your 100% days. It can definitely be your 25% day, but choose something. You're not incapable. And I get annoyed sometimes, not gonna lie. When people are like, well, I couldn't. It was just so emotional. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You're choosing not to. You're saying that this thing is so terrible that it is confining you to a couch. It is not. And most of the time when people say that to me, I'm like, okay, let's look at what you are doing. Well, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing. Okay, so you're actually are doing things. And when you can actually acknowledge that you're doing the things, then that counters you. I just couldn't. I was too emotional, right? You can do these things. Choose movement that doesn't drain you. Fuel your body, prep food if you need to. You can buy it. You could get a meal prep company. You could go to the Greek restaurant and do two things. You could go to Subway and get 2 footlongs and cut them into 6 inches, and you have 4 lunches, right? You can. You just have to think outside of your very rigid box. And it's hard, especially when you're so emotional. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to recalibrate what progress looks like for us, right? Progress is probably, and I love my client whose husband is having the surgery today. You know, she's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm kind of single momming. I said, look, we just maintain, we're not even worried about that. I want you to feed yourself well. So I would like for you to keep either using the food journal or tracking. We moved all her workouts to home, and That's it, right? So progress for her is just showing up and doing those things and not getting upset with herself for doing those. So progress in a hard season might be eating 3 meals. I try to get my mother to do this, right? My appetite usually is gone when I'm this, like when I'm really upset. Right now, it's been kind of just, I honestly think, you guys, my appetite is so off is because I was trying to still do all the crazy workouts while going through this. So I think this week it'll stabilize because I'm reducing the intensity and I am allowing myself to like bring my body down. I can feel it. Like I feel like I'm sizzling all the time. Like there's like, like in TV where there's a electrical cord and they go, psst, that little psst. That's how it feels inside all the time. Say no to one thing, right? Even if you feel guilty, say no. I reduced the podcast down to 2 days, which is or 2 episodes a week. Huge, huge for me because I record 3 a day. So that will push me ahead. So in this unknown time, I have them, right? And that's really helpful because depending on what happens this week, we may be dealing with hospice care, right? I said, I didn't really say no, but like I said, I put my clients into one day. Now I have the ability to do that. My sister, though, she took FMLA. That is something you can take if you work in corporate America. That is your right. She has been on FMLA through this whole process and she's able to be here, right? You it may be, and I know when my dad passes, this is going to be me. It's just getting out of bed and putting clean clothes on, right? It's just going to be showering. And that's it. And that's okay, right? Another thing I love to do, which is very strange, is like when Brooklyn was dying, I would walk and I would just cry under my glasses, my sunglasses. I would just cry, and it was so cathartic. And my little hummingbirds would come visit me, and I would just cry. It was really cathartic. And then just letting go of control and allowing support in. Now, I want to talk about that real quick. I'm not going to reach out to you. I don't have the bandwidth to do that. So, what I have been able to do is tell my friends that. Like, I am not going to reach out to you. You ask me, oh, just reach out if you need anything. Not going to do that. Sorry. I don't have, my first thought is reach out to that person. Now, it's because I'm hyper independent. For some people, it's the exact opposite. Like, they need to, like, they will reach out to you all the time. And I'm not going to do that. But my friends who do reach out to me, I will respond to them. And that's really, really nice. So just remembering, like, this is all taking care of yourself. This is growth. This is healing. This is taking leadership for you in the worst times of your life. Now, what we haven't touched on, which of course is my favorite part, is the emotional release, right? Emotional release is physical care. We cannot skip this part. Emotional suppression creates physical symptoms. 1000%. I holding back the tears, hiding the stress, pretending like you're fine, your body will absorb all of that, all of it. And so this part of taking care of yourself is allowing your body to feel itself. And that's incredibly important. Feel the grief, feel the rage, the fear, feel the emptiness, and then let those emotions move. Move them through writing, walking, right? Breath work. Move them through your voice. Talk to a friend, your coach, a therapist. I sang and cried. I scream. Scram? I screamed. That sounds weird. At the top of my lungs, the Whitney Houston I Have Nothing song. Like I was her in my car with just tears falling down my eyes, right? And do shit like that. Because you do not have to carry this alone. You don't have to process this all at once. Emotion needs a way out. Otherwise, it will calcify. It will calcify into symptoms. fatigue, binge eating, numbness, digestive issues, chronic pain. While I was in the hospital, I'm doing a training on how trauma shows up in the body, right? Fibromyalgia, chronic pain, IBS. These are all symptoms of someone who solely has trauma in their life and no other reason. Crazy, right? This is the human response. This is the body saying, you should have felt that because now you're going to feel it in a different way. It it manifests into those physical feelings, and we don't want that, especially if we're hurting so much. So when you feel, you might be listening to this and thinking like, okay, but Christina, like I've already let myself go. I've gained the weight. I've fallen off so far. Like you survived, right? You're still here. Maybe your coping strategies weren't ideal, but they worked, right? You're still here. You got through the day. And now you're listening to this, maybe the ground is shifting a little bit and you have the opportunity to reconnect. We're not going to punish ourselves. We're not even fixing ourselves. We're just rebuilding on these new terms that I will choose me in some capacity every day, right? Because the woman who survives her hardest season is not the same woman who entered it. I can tell you right now, my life is forever changed through this. I see things, I see people, I see life differently. And to think that my old rules would apply here doesn't make sense, right? I needed a new kind of rhythm, a new response. And that's that. So life feels really heavy right now. In my own body, I feel like a stranger. And I'm thankful for my foundation and my in practicing what I preach because I am taking care of myself. And I'm going to be honest, guys, it doesn't feel like that sometimes because it's so hard. It's so hard. But it could feel worse if I wasn't doing the things I was doing. And so I just want to share that you can choose you and the reward may not be so grand. It's almost like a do it so it's not that much worse, I guess. And just start with what's in front of you, the glass of water, the deep breath, the walking. I walk, my dad's on the sixth floor. I walk up the stairs when I can, right? Or there's a long bridge that goes from, it basically takes you from one side of the hospital to the other side. And it's fairly long. I'll just walk that a couple times a day, right? Create those bricks, right? Create those bricks and every day choose one brick. You're building a stronger foundation under you. You're building a wall that's not the wall that avoidance builds. You think that that's building a wall, like avoiding all of this. It's not. This is the wall that is going to help you feel stronger. So if this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone navigating a hard season. I hear you. I am you. And I'm here. You can message me. I'm here to talk. I will say, talking to people who have gone through losing a parent with cancer has been really helpful because it's its own beast. It's just its own thing. And you think things sometimes that seem so strange and bad. And to validate that is really helpful. So if you need to talk to someone who's going through it, reach out. And yeah, thanks for my therapy session. If you haven't already, make sure to follow this podcast or subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're interested in coaching, yes, I'm still coaching clients. Let's connect. Let's connect and see if it's a good fit. I have kind of transformed the way I coach now so that I can take on as many clients as I can. So, more of a hybrid model where we have group and one-to-one coaching. And so, that is something that you can check out in the show notes below. And I love you guys. Thanks for letting me cry. And I'm going to just remind you this one last thing, that what you say in your mind, you say in the mirror. Bye bye.